has been the concept. Actually, I had developed at least about 15 years back during my entry into the magnificent world of Kaya Kalpa Rasayanas. Of course, I had my background in all the Upanishads and Puranas and Western philosophies on mind, matter and existence, and of course the Tibetan yoga and Chinese Tao, and finally the ultimate, as I believe, the Zen of Japan. And of course, as a normal Indian in this domain, like most people of India, I am aware of the various yogas and increasing acceptance of various methods of yoga and the various gurus. And of course, I have listened to Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, then also originators who have given beautiful interpretations and explanations of most of the things, including the Bhairava Tantra, and then J. Krishnamurti, Ramana Maharshi, and the other most modern world-renowned people, then Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, J. Krishnamurti. Of course, with all this background together, and with my deep understanding of human anatomy and physiology and the details of it, as I had taken one of the unique fields of psychology called physiological psychology, which is not at all available now in most of the psychology programs in the world. That's what more or less I understand. There may be. So, as a result of all these things, I realized that great majority of yoga perspectives and so-called spirituality, they are all about enlightenment, or even Japanese and Satori, or kick plans, or that getting in tune with the divine and things like that. Okay, they are all great. But I realized, point number one, that unless the mental blocks, what can be otherwise called the blocks to the creative potentiality of the human being, unless those blocks which develops into traps, unless they are resolved, nothing will work. Because the basic engines of the intellect, like the thought process, reflection, conceptualization, visualization, projection, analytical understanding, etc., which I call the engines of intellect. They are all blocked for definitely 99.3% of the population by the Gaussian normal distribution principle. Because the environment is like that. Especially modern education is all about knowing, K-N-O-W-I-N-G. Otherwise called rote learning. Which will, in turn, will only accentuate, reinforce the so-called mental blocks. These mental blocks are, Subin, you already know, you are already training some people, very simple, by name, fear and anxiety of the ambiguous and the unknown and the strange and the unclear and all that. The so-called mindset number one. Mindset number two, what you call centricity and conformity. Centricity meaning to behave like, or to express like, to respond like, to do like, to relate with people like, or practice the language of the majority. We are centered in the central tendency of the crowd, going with the crowd. Conformity is abiding by or believing or accepting what the significant people say, what the majority of people say, what the so-called other philosophies, including religious ideologies, say. Conforming to that, centricity and conformity, which is actually a mental block for individual journey. Because he or she is conforming to what the majority says, he or she is behaving and acting and expressing like the majority, then how can there be so-called individual expression, which is all about so-called creativity and originality and discovery, and which is all about so-called enlightenment and satori. I understood that nobody can reach enlightenment by following the path of Buddha, by following Krishna, by following anybody. Because no two people can walk the same path. One. Two, even if Buddha is explaining, this is the way, that is the way language. The listener does not know what Buddha refers to by a certain language. For example, in the ancient Upanishadic language, I am Atma Brahma. You are also an essence of the so-called universal, whatever, big mysterious force. Thou art that, you are that, what you are searching for. Okay? Or even Patanjali says, yoga, chitta vritti nirodha. That means you block the normal stream of consciousness and the mental activity. This is told, but how that knowing is to be translated into doing, it requires creative analytical reflection, which is blocked by this mindset. Fear and anxiety of uncertainty, ambiguous, unclear. When you look for what to do with this, it is unclear. You can explain how a tea is cooked. Somebody can master that understanding. But doing the cooking in the kitchen, varied kitchens of individual minds, that's because the individual is doing. He has to translate that knowing of cooking a cup of tea in the reality of his unique kitchen. Not two kitchens are alike. Agreed? Therefore, the need of so-called creative, analytical intellect, which is blocked by mindset number one, fear of ambiguity and non. Mindset number two, centricity and conformity. Now mindset number three, fear of failure, fear and anxiety of failure. Okay, that bhayam, that is the ultimate fear and anxiety, because every entity, not only human being, even an amoeba, even an earthworm, or even a cat or a lion or an elephant is in a way a victim of so-called fear. That's the English word we can use. It is a programmed instinct. If there is no so-called fear, entities will die. It will end up in dangers. So the so-called primal fear, that original fear, it is not fear of death or whatever it may be connected with that. So that fear is programmed like a reflex action of the winking reflex of the eyes. So coupled with that, the significant others, the parents, the relatives, the siblings, the environment, then of course the so-called school and its teachers and other campaigns in the society, all together induce that fear and anxiety of failure. Will I be able to do it? Will I be able to do it? What if I do it on my own? So follow the available regimented descriptions. So failure is not a success or apparent success in whatever is endeavored will happen. So individualized identifying what path I should follow, they don't have the confidence and the conviction and the courage to take it. Okay. Mindset number three. We are talking about yoga, alright. Mindset number four. Fear of lowness, L-O-W. I am low. I am not that good. Am I up to the mark? Will I be able to do it according to the standard parameters? Will I be able to do according to my own understanding of what is good? For example, I want to write poem. I can write poem. But will it be good? I am already writing. But I am not happy. I don't feel good. And especially in India, Sudan, because of that, I would say, the ruthlessly, inhuman way of classifying people into the upper, middle, lower middle, etc., etc., so-called caste and community division, which will inevitably lead to that low-high categorization. So that will add on to that. And so-called India is the land where the Supranistic enlightenment or Vedanta and spirituality and all these things are in a way originally formed. And from here only it is communicated to all over the world also.
Yeah.
And you know very well, the very Indians are not confident about the ancient wisdom of so-called Upanishads and Vedas.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have asked thousands of educated people. They have not even heard about some of the names of the Upanishads. Forget about reading it and see what is it. So, because of various reasons, because also the fear of lowness in the sense that fear and anxiety whether I will be able to understand it or not. Because who is talking about Upanishads? Some what you call kavi vastra, kavi kind of colored dress and bhasma puris and dadi and hair and sitting in a glorified pedestal. Such people are talking about Upanishads and can I ever understand it? Can I ever become like that? So I'm telling another mindset which is blocking to individual journey. A journey to be undertaken precisely by the guidelines generated by one's own reflective analytical process. Now, mindset or so-called mental block or mental trap number 5. Self-doubt. You know, I have interviewed even CEO level people. They are wonderful. Managing 27,000 people, taking care of thousands of crores of business activities, etc., etc., etc. But in certain things, they have real self-doubt. What certain things? Especially in the context of spiritual evolution. That's the context now.
Yeah.
Because we are talking about Jeevi Yoga.
Yeah.
And they are all, most of them,
Yeah.
are following one or the other gurus of India.
Yeah.
So-called, they claim, very proudly claim that I am the disciple, or I have a guru.
Okay.
And then I used to wonder, sir, since when? At least for the last 50 years.
Okay.
To some people, okay, then what happened to you? Is there any evolution? No, sir, I feel good, etc. But at least to 2-3 people I have told. If you are with a real guru, you would not be meeting him more than 10 times. That's all. Okay. So, that's all.
Yeah.
So, because interacting more and more with the guru, he is actually developing more and more self-doubt only.
Yeah.
Because most of these gurus, as I understand, they give a glorified picture of themselves, unknowingly.
Yes.
One. Two, even if they don't do, this disciple's mind is feeling awesome, feeling stupefied about the so-called aura, not aura,
Yeah.
public glory.
Okay.
That is the image. That's how he located this guru. He did not locate him by individual journey. He identified this guru because he is already very well known.
Yeah.
That's why he did not. Even that guru was not identified by him. See?
Okay.
It is by centricity, conformity only. Oh, everybody says, oh, Satya Sai Baba is great, or Vivekananda is great, or Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is great, or Ramana Maharshi is great, or J. Krishnamurti is great. Oh, therefore let me also go. It would not work. What? It will definitely work in giving a good feeling that I have a lot of wisdom and understanding. It may be there also. I have personally seen people who know verbatim by heart
Okay.
Bhagavad Gita. But I have observed, plus I have heard that this person is just a mediocre person in his behavior, in his responses, in his ways of doing things. in his relating with other people, and in his language. Okay? Because of that secret work of self-doubt. You see the problem of self-doubt. On one side, the spiritual, whatever enlightenment perspectives are talking about absolute freedom of the self.
Yeah.
The self becomes the Brahman.
Yeah.
Okay? And that very self is doubted. Okay? Then how can it ever work? For example, now, mental block or mindset number 6. What? Rigidity.
Yeah.
Rigidity in thought process, rigidity in ways of doing things, rigidity in ways of responses, rigidity in ways of relating with people, rigidity in ways of using language or thought process.
Yeah.
Okay? And most of these people are, for example, they are rigidly following spiritual process.
Yeah.
Exactly. Recently I was talking to a lady. I get up every day at 3:30 a.m. because it is so-called Brahma Muhurta. And then first I will read Vishnu Sahasranama, 10,000 names of Mahavishnu in original Sanskrit. It will take minimum 1.5 hours.
Okay.
After that I will read Lilita Sahasranama, 1,000 names. That also will be better. Then I will do some yoga. Alright, how long you have been doing? Ever since my husband died, over the last 9 years. And then, what is the advantage? Practically no advantage. She feels aloof, she feels abandoned. Only one son is working somewhere in the US, he is not coming. So, in order to find mental satisfaction, actually, that lady at the age of 62 requested a friend's company to put her into some role
Okay.
so that her daytime can be managed. Otherwise, it is a free-floating anxiety. What in clinical psychology we call a free-floating anxiety, a disturbing kind of a boredom, and in between fear of death, fear of illnesses, and etc. etc. They will rigidly follow. Rigidity. But what is required? The opposite of rigidity is flexibility. You should have the freedom to make alterations according to your kitchen, which they are not. Then, in all these mindsets, when you say mind, there is no organ called mind, which we have discussed some time back. These are all amounting to also kind of psycho-physiological rigidity also. Whereas that awakening or so-called enlightenment or so-called satori requires absolute freedom, like that of a little baby. Absolute flexibility of the body and mind and intellect. Then only it will touch the spirit. Alright. Now, 7th word. The most critical word. As you also know, I talk about this very authentically and authoritatively because I am basically a clinical psychologist and basically I have mastered the mindsets, and there's a beautiful questionnaire developed by my doctoral guide, Dr. Pradeep in Khandwala, ex-director of Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. Brilliant. He is, by the way, the pioneering creativity researcher in India. Okay? He has developed a marvelously wonderful questionnaire. It is statistically verified questionnaire. That means the scores of that questionnaire can be used to interpret the degree and extent of mindsets or mental blocks in a person who has done that questionnaire. It's a block to creativity questionnaire. which I have administered to more than 25,000 people over a period of 20 years. And I have written a book also on the basis of that, named The 9 Mental Traps of Corporate India, available in Amazon.com. So I am sorry to say, I understand the mindsets that block. I am sure, personally, sorry to say, really much better than Dr. Pradeep Khandwala, my own guru, which many other audiences have told me. That's a different issue. Why I say this is to validate the completeness or the correctness of the method of Jeevi alone. So sensitivity lag. The seventh mindset, sensitivity lag. Okay. And it is the most closer to the mental block that blocks creativity. Because the number one requirement for creativity is sensitivity. Yeah. It was that ruthlessly powerful sensitivity of, for example, Isaac Newton, to doubt why things are falling. Who on earth will doubt? It is such an obvious, clear phenomenon. Things will fall down. And that led to the foundation of modern science and technology. That's about that. Then great poetry. William Shakespeare or Milton or Keats or Shelley or William Wordsworth. If we take that magnificent 14-line sonnet poem of William Wordsworth named The Solitary Reaper, it's a masterpiece in English literature. What is it about? A girl, a young, beautiful girl standing alone in a highland valley. What is so great about it? Okay. Who has not seen a girl standing alone?
Yeah.
One. Who can not say anything about a girl standing alone? Anybody can talk at least 10 sentences.
Yeah.
And William Wordsworth also said, what? A marvelously beautiful poem called The Solitary Reaper. Only he could see the vanishing wonder or the great mystery of existence expressed in the lonely face of the girl. Did she go to him and told anything? No. Did the falling stone went to Newton and told him? It was created by the engines of sensitivity of the so-called creative person. There is nothing called a set of abilities called creativity. That's why everybody say everybody is creative, which I corrected.
Yeah.
Everybody is never creative, but everybody has creativity,
Okay.
that power. But it has never been translated into creativeness or creative expressions or responses or behaviors or actions or relationships or language. Okay. Then only we can say he is creative. Rather, he has not used his creativity to guide or direct his or her perceptions and responses and sensitivity given data from the world outside or world within. So that sensitivity nobody trains anybody.
Yeah.
In education classrooms, if you think, you are not supposed to think. You create as much as possible a perfect duplication of what is given in the textbook. Then you are A+. Entire world is like that.
Yeah.
And in the context of sensitivity, ultimately only that engine of sensitivity will identify that thinnest of margin of your contact with that operating spirit of the world within and then the world outside, which is called enlightenment. By the way, Suvin, when you say enlightenment, it is a big word, it's a corrupt word. I would say it's a raped word, as of now.
Yeah.
Suvin, the entity is always in that ocean only, of truth, of spirit. If enlightenment was something totally different from your body, people would have already located it,
Yeah.
because it is different. Like the searcher and the searched is the same. Fortunately or unfortunately, you know. It is like what you call, I forgot it. A great philosopher used the example of a serpent swallowing its own tail.
Yeah.
If it swallows its own tail, finally it will disappear, sort of, you know. Or what the great Zen masters call the gateless gate. Because it is there. You search, and then when you reach, it is not there. Is there a gate to a Satori? Yes. But is there a gate? No. So we need that, what you call, that absolute razor sharp, sword sharp power of the attention driven by the sensitivity to identify whatever you want to yogify with it. And that is what millions of people are sitting down in the Himalayas and other monasteries and all those things. I have been to this Uttarkashi and Rishikesh and all that, so in thousands of people. And I am sure none of them is anywhere near enlightenment. To locate that you in you, why should you go to Himalayas? You know, to identify that operating principle within you, you do whatever. That is the brilliant beauty of Zen. I am just a little bit building a scaffolding for you to understand the room or the space of what we call enlightenment. For example, the beauty of Zen. In Zen, which talks about Satori, it is not about a big thing called enlightenment. Satori basically means you get a quick glance of that thing inside you. Are you okay? So, for Satori, what do? You just cook a cup of plain tea only. Which is called Sa no Yo in Zen.